Hello, team. Welcome. Whoa, we're halfway there. Whoa, lizard on a chair. No, that is not the song. But it is fun and it is worth remembering that we are halfway there, halfway through this year. I hope you've had a good one and that this is not something scary, that we are reaching the middle, the halfway point. But it is also a chance for you to deliver your TED Talk that you have been preparing. Guys, I know for many of my students, this was scary. If I were delivering a TED Talk, I would find this kind of scary. But this is an opportunity for you to practice something a little uncomfortable under controlled circumstances, so that when the opportunity does arrive, that you're prepared, that you feel comfortable, that you feel confident, or at least more comfortable and more confident than you do today. And it's also a chance for you to explore something that is important to you. If you have been following these classes, you've been preparing, this will be easy peasy, lemon squeezy. If you haven't, I suggest you go back a couple of classes and prepare little by little. But here we go. So your warm up, it's easy. Finalize any last details that you have. Cross out any words that you dislike. Change those last sentence openings, connecting words. And your challenge today is simple: deliver your TED Talk. We'll grab an audience. If you really do feel uncomfortable, you can film yourself doing it. But I do recommend you having somebody to give you feedback. And for me, these were the three things that I was focusing on with my students' presentation. Was a memorable opening. Nowadays we have a shorter attention span. Each day it's keep getting shorter and shorter. Sometimes it's hard for me to wait 5 seconds to pass the YouTube ads. So start strong, start interesting. Whatever it is, it's the first step of the dance, the same way that we practice our introductions in the first episode of the year. Make sure that your opening is well done, and the rest will kind of flow. Your mouth will already be opening, the words will be coming out, and they'll keep going. But anxiety comes before the act. So if you focus on that opening sentence, the opening paragraph, the opening idea, you will feel a lot more comfortable and confident for the rest. This one right here, if you have an audience, my recommendation is at the end, ask them, what was the message? So this is the way I did it with my students, where I would already know their message was. And at the end, I would ask the audience, what was their message? And if it is exactly what the person wants to say, perfect, 10 out of 10, 100 points. If it is not exactly what you meant, you might want to check, see where the error, the communication kind of went off track. And last up, stories. I'm a collector of stories, and I have never seen a good TED Talk that did not involve stories. We see our lives through a story with us as the protagonist. Every religion on this planet is told through stories. It is one of the easiest ways to get a message across. Easiest maybe is not the right word, but one of the most efficient ways of getting the message across. So you should have a good story that exemplifies your message. If you do it, send it my way. I would love to see it. And the big three, these are questions that I ask myself. And I see this with my students. Whenever somebody talks about something that is real to them, something that is that's on their mind, something that is important to them, their face lights up and they get more beautiful, more interesting. And I think it's important for us to share what's real to us. And these are the questions that I ask myself when I need a kind of a readjustment, when I need to realign my priorities. Reprioritize is the word that I use. That's a good one. And number one is, what am I doing well that I plan on continuing? Life has a balance. So if you are avoiding something, it means you're doing something else. So what are you doing well? It's not all glass half empty. What are you doing well? And start with that. Start with a positive and maintain that. You're doing it well. Keep going. But number two, what have you been putting off that you need to start? That, oh yeah, next Monday, next week, next month. Start tomorrow. It's even better than tomorrow. Start today. But whatever it is that you've been putting off, break it down into the first step. What's the number one thing to get this going? Once the ball starts rolling, it's easier for it to keep going. So what's the first step? Break it down into its smallest part. And number three, this is a new one. I used to say, what should I do less of? But everybody used to say procrastinating. And I realized that it was just a variation of this right here. So this time, what is something I need to stop worrying about? We are bombarded by all of these different necessities that make for a positive human experience nowadays. It's one of the negative parts of the internet. And sometimes we put too much on our plate. And pick something that you're like, not this year, that I should not be worrying about. And I think this is important. It will give you a certain amount of relief. And remember, when you get that feeling, yeah, I really need to start that. We can't do everything. So pick something and say, not worried about this anymore. Peace, and say goodbye to it. Make your peace with the situation and keep going. So, guys, those are my questions. If you think it's stupid, ignore it. It's just something that I wanted to share with you. Next up, let me see. Conversation starters. Let me pick a good one. Do you agree or disagree with the following statement? Nobody has an easy life. That's a hard one. I do. I really agree that nobody has an easy life. There are degrees of difficulty, though. Some people are born to a much more difficult human experience than others. But everybody will have bad days, bad moments. The higher your expectations, the easier it is for you to be disappointed. So it's important to be realistic. Focus on how. How will you reach your goals? Those little steps. Routine, habits. I heard the other day that realistically we can only focus on where we put our effort, and it's going to define the end result. So your focus and your effort. Point it in a direction that is positive for your experience, and it'll be a lot easier. And like we saw above, don't worry about stuff that it is not your job to worry about. We can't change everything. So pick what's important, get that out of the way, make sure it's done well, and the rest will kind of fall into place. And it'll be a lot easier. But no, I don't think anybody has an easy life. And I don't think anybody should want to have an easy life. It's why we're here, to learn. And you don't learn with easy. But last up, your challenge. One new habit. For me, my niche is English. It's what I help you guys with, but it's all the same. Whether you're talking about English, you're talking about gym, you're talking about playing the piano, whatever it is that you want, the method is the same. You put in the work. And if you don't put in the work, you'll be the person, I should have done that. Shoulda, woulda, coulda. So this is my challenge for you guys. Pick one new habit. What does that mean? Maybe you are already asking one question a day to a study buddy. Why don't you organize a 15-minute session? It can be very informal. It can be over a beer. It can be while you play a game. There's the only wrong answer is to not do it, but either pick one new habit or make one habit a little bit more difficult. If you're watching this video, I have one guarantee, which is that you want to improve your English. So that's my challenge for you. Commendable content. Two guys that I think are amazing. Lex Friedman, he's one of the best podcast hosts on the planet. He is actually curious about what he asks his guests. He wants to know, he wants to understand. And Chris Voss, a fascinating dude. He talks about negotiation, but more importantly, about empathy. And I think nowadays we confuse, not nowadays, always, we confuse empathy with agreeing with somebody, and you do not need to agree with somebody to try to understand their point of view. And this is an amazing conversation, and I recommend it to anybody who has interest in improving their communication. All right, team. Thank you very much. I will see you next season. The theme is called Little Words. We will be focusing on little words that have a big impact. So I'll see you there. Thank you.